This is Sherline of Kathanika. The story I have for you today is a folk tale from the Kuki tribe of Manipur. It is called The Flying Elephant. This story is brought to you as part of the Utsav 2020 festival organized by the Jayahe Museum of the Mumbai International Airport. The tradition of telling folk tales to children is practiced in the tribes of the Kuki people. Some of these are fascinating stories based on animals. Today's story is one such, about an elephant. Once upon a time, an old elephant died and its body was lying in a jungle. Soon, the vultures, crows, hyenas and other scavengers arrived, one by one, to feast on the dead elephant. When scavengers find a dead animal, they begin to tear the body from its most delicate part, where the membrane is thin. This part is mostly the stomach. The scavenger birds and animals pecked and bit and created a small opening on the underside of the elephant's belly. The vultures, the crows, the hyenas and others began pulling out tiny bits of the dead elephant's insides and enjoying a delicious meal. They were so engaged when a group of 6 huge eagles arrived. The eagles do not like to share their meal with other creatures. And so, the large eagles spread their powerful wings, screeched in their most menacing way, and shooed away all the other birds and animals. Once the eagles had the elephant to themselves, they went to the hole created in the belly of the dead elephant and began feasting on the intestines. The eagles kept eating and following morsel after morsel. The hole created in the stomach of the elephant grew larger and wider. The eagles, one by one, stepped into the belly of the dead elephant. The eagles were so engrossed in eating and feasting, they had unknowingly entered the shell-like body of the dead elephant's belly through the hole that was created. The old elephant was indeed delicious. It was huge, and to the eagles, it was like entering a storehouse of food. Outside, it was a nice, warm day. The birds were chirping. The bees were about their work, and the sun shined so bright and hot that the torn parts and the opening created in the dead elephant's stomach got dehydrated and became hard like a saddle. After some time, the eagles had had their fill and wanted to fly out. The eagles moved towards the opening in the elephant's belly. But when they gathered at the opening, they found the body of the elephant had become rigid and hard. The opening in the belly had shrunk and was too small for the huge eagles to pass through. The eagles tried to force their way out, but the dead animal had frozen stiff. The eagles came to realize that they were trapped and couldn't escape. The eagles remained trapped inside the dark stomach of the elephant. The outside hide of the elephant had hardened, and the inside of the elephant's stomach was now like a large, pitch-black room. That afternoon, a pala performer was hurrying through the jungle. The pala performer was lost in his thoughts. Dressed in a bright white dhoti, a set of symbols around his neck, the pala performer was heading to a wedding to which he was invited to perform his song and dance. The pala performer came upon the huge elephant lying on the ground blocking his path. The pala performer stopped. He wondered if the elephant was dead or alive. The pala performer could not see the belly from where he was standing. Strange that this elephant was lying motionless on the ground. Was it dead or alive? Should he just walk past it? But what if the elephant was only sleeping and jumped up at him, thought the pala performer. He had to know if it was safe for him to pass by. He hit upon a plan. The pala performer took up his cymbals and began clashing it together. Gling, 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 gling. Surely, if the elephant was just sleeping, the pala performer hoped to disturb the elephant and chase it away. Gling, 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 gling. Listening to the sounds of the cymbals, the eagles who were inside the elephant panicked. They began flapping their wings in fear and tried to fly up. As a result of the eagle's attempt to fly, they lifted the entire elephant off the ground. The elephant hovered in the air for a bit and fell down on the earth. The pala performer's jaw dropped. The pala performer rubbed his eyes in astonishment. Did he just see an elephant fly? Once again, the pala performer clashed the cymbals together. Gling, 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 gling. Once again, the elephant rose into the sky. This time, it seemed to rise a little higher, but it fell down once again. The pala performer found this very interesting. The pala performer was a brave fellow. This is all very fascinating, he thought. He hopped onto the elephant and began playing his cymbals. Gling, 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 gling. The elephant started flying. Gling, 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 gling. The pala performer clashed the cymbals and the elephant kept flying. The pala performer was feeling happy to have stumbled upon such a wonder. While the pala performer was thus enjoying the ride on the elephant, he had an idea. The king of the kingdom where the pala performer lived was known to be a miser who did not like to part with his money. I'll take this elephant to the penny-pinching king, and if possible, I'll sell it to him, thought the pala performer, and thus he began guiding the elephant towards the palace. The elephant flew over forests and lakes and farms and the houses of the people in the city. The elephant soon reached the palace. The pala performer began flying around the palace. Inside the palace, the king's court was in session. The king, dressed in all his finery, was seated on the royal throne and in deep conversation with his ministers when some of the people at the court caught sight of the flying elephant. "A flying elephant! Look! Look! Is that a flying elephant?" said the people at the court to each other. Everyone, the king, the queen, the ministers, the guards, came rushing out of the palace. People from nearby houses came out into the streets to look and marvel at the miraculous flying object. The pala performer saw the king, the queen, and the ministers looking at the elephant with wonder. The pala performer slowly guided the elephant towards the ground. The king came near the man and said, "I'll buy your flying elephant in exchange for 10 big bags of gold." "10 bags of gold only?" said the pala performer, knowing very well of the stingy ways of the king. "I will give my prized flying elephant for nothing less than 20 bags of gold," he said. The king spotted the awe on the face of the people around. They were gazing at the elephant that could fly. Won't it be awesome? When the king flew around on his marvelous flying elephant, the king could imagine the look on the face of the neighborhood kings. But he still wanted a bargain. "All right, 18 bags of gold and not one extra," announced the king. The pala performer was delighted. He had managed to get 18 bags of gold from the stingy king. The pala performer got off the elephant and handed over the cymbals to the king. "When you wish to fly, clash the cymbals, your majesty, and when you wish to come down, stop playing them," he instructed. Then, taking the big sack of gold, the pala performer went to his home. The king was terribly happy to be the owner of the flying elephant. He clapped his hands in joy and called all his ministers and servants to see and admire his new flying elephant. Later that day, the king decided to go for a trip around his country, riding on his new flying elephant. The elephant was decorated with rugs embroidered in fine gold thread and tassels. The king and queen mounted the royal elephant. The cymbals were handed over to the king. The excited king began playing the instrument. Gling, 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 gling. The elephant started rising up. Gling, 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 gling. The king continued clashing the cymbals, hardly believing what was happening. The elephant began flying. The queen's heart was racing. Her hair and delicate veil began blowing in the wind. She put her hands around the waist of the king to hold herself steady. People waved their hands and began to cheer the king and queen from the earth. With the sound of the cymbals and the noise of the people, the eagles who were inside the elephant became agitated and scared. They flapped their wings harder and they flew higher and higher. Up, up, up flew the king and the queen on the flying elephant. Up, touching the clouds, and as they rose higher, the king's pride rose higher too. The king was absolutely delighted. The king clashed the cymbals with enthusiasm. Gling, 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 gling. The queen with her jumbled hair was tightly holding on to the king so as not to fall off. As the elephant rose high above the clouds and into the sky, they touched the coldest layer of the sky. The elephant's hide got moist. The elephant's hide, which had hardened up like a saddle, became soft, smooth, and slowly the holes on the underside of the belly opened up. The eagles that were inside the elephant found the opening in the belly large enough to escape, and off they began flying out of the elephant's body. One by one, all the 6 eagles flew out. As the eagles began to escape, the elephant's hide collapsed, and the elephant, which was earlier flying in the sky, fell down towards the earth. Down, down, down went the collapsed hide of the elephant, and with it, down, 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 fell the stingy and foolish king along with his queen. They crashed onto the earth and were killed. And that was the tale of the flying elephant. This tale is narrated to warn people against falling for unreal things. Fools often fall in the trap of wise people, just as the king fell for the deception of the smart Pala performer. The king thus not only lost his treasures, but his life and that of his queen as well. I hope you liked the story. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and share the story with your friends. Bye-bye.